you ever been at the store and seen the 40% off sign and thought, uh-oh, didn't know I was coming in here for a math test? Well, the 10% rule can help with this one. So here we go. So in order to find 10% of any number, you're going to multiply by 0.1, divide by 10, but you're basically just going to move the decimal place over one spot to the left. Okay, so if we have 34.56, we're going to take the decimal point and move it one spot to the left. So 10% of that is going to be $3.45. Okay, so that's how we find 10% of a number, okay? So we're going to go through some examples of how this can be used in real life. So let's say we have $80, right? 10% is going to be $8, okay? So we're going to do 10% goes to $8. So there's our 10% chunk, okay? So now if we're asked for 20%, well, you just double the 10%. 20% is two 10s, two 10%. So that's going to be 16 bucks. What about 5%? Well, 5% is half of 10%. So for 5%, you find your 10% and cut it in half, okay? So the $8 that we're using on this example here is going to turn to $4. So there's $4 there. So that's 5%. Now, a lot of times people will look for doing tips and they'll call it 15%. Well, 15% is 10% and another 5%. So in this case here, that's the 10 and the 5. And you just add them up. So we already found both of those. So 8 and 4, that's going to be $12 is the 15%. Now for 25%, you can use the same trick. And with any of these, there's more than one way of doing it. We're only focused on the 10% trick, okay? So in this case here for 25%, that would be the 20. You can either do these ones here, the 20 and the 5, or in your brain, you can do two 10s and the 5 to make the 25%, okay? So either way, it's going to be 16 plus 4 or $20. And this is for the $80 here. So that's going to be $20 there. There we go. 20 bucks. Okay, so that's with 80%. So here we go. Let's do some other ones here. These ones are kind of off the cuff. So we got 25% of a $120 jacket, okay? So 25%. So we can do two 10s and a 5. So for the $120, one 10% is going to be, move the decimal place over one spot, that'll be 12 bucks. So we got two 12s and then a 5%. Well, remember the 5% is half the 10, so that's a 6. So we got two 12s, makes 24, and a 6. So 25% off, you would end up taking off 24 plus 6, $30. Would be $30 off. Here we go. 15% tip on $46. Oh, and that's off. There we go. 15% tip on 46 bucks. So here we go. So that's going to be a 10 and a 5. So a 10 is 460. And the 5% is be half that. So you just do half. So half of 4, half of 6, half of 0. So that'd be 230. And add those up. Now, when we do tips, when we do the 25% off, if the numbers don't turn out super simple, you just estimate. In this case here, this is almost $5, and this is about $250. So 5 plus 250, that'd be $750. If you wanted to actually add it up in your head, let's say you're really good at keeping numbers in your head, and these ones aren't super tricky, because we got the 4 plus the 2, that's going to make the 6, and then we have the 6 and the 3, would be $6.90, which was close to the estimation. So you can do it either way there. So here we're doing 70% off of a $50 clearance item. So 10% is $5. So 70% will be 7 5s. So 70%, that's going to be 35 bucks. and that's going to be off. Now, here's another trick with these. Anytime you're talking about taking money off or discounts, you can also look at it from the other point of view. So instead of thinking 70% off, which is a huge discount, it's over 50%, you can also think, well, I'm only going to pay 30%. So if you're going to pay 30%, right, paying 30%, well, that's going to be, let's see here, well, 10% is 5. We're going to have 3 tens. So that's, you're actually only going to pay $15 there. And back to our original question, 40% off of, let's get rid of this, make some more room. Here we go, 40% off of $34.56. So we already established, move the decimal place over one spot. So that'd be $3.45, almost 46 cents. If I wanted to find 40% off though, I would probably just round this. Because I got to do 4 of them. So I got 4 345s. So that's going to be a little bit more than what my brain can handle. So I'm going to round it to 3.5. You can think $3.50, $3.50, or just 3.5. You can think any of those. Our brains work a little bit easier with the mixed numbers versus the decimals, although some brains, since we've gone back and forth a lot throughout our school years, we're pretty good at going back and forth, at least with the 0.5s, 0.25s, that type of stuff. But in this case here, we're going to have the 3.5, we're going to have 4 of those. So we're doing 4 times 3.5. Or 4 times 3.5, either way there. Well, I know, well, 3 halves, right? Or 3.5, if I have 2 of those, that's going to make 7. And then, so 2 sevens would be $14. So in this case here, the 40% would be around $14. Okay, and again, the way I did that is I would do 2 3.5s. And that goes to $7, but I wanted 4 instead. Well, that's just 2 2s, makes 4. So I take my 7 and double it in order to get the 14 there. So the 10% trick, it can help quite a bit for doing quick arithmetic. Again, if you're at the store or something like that, I highly recommend just do estimations, just round all your numbers to make them easier to work with, because that's a trick. If it's a really difficult number to work with, we're just going to pull out our phones and use our calculator. But this video is to help you with those mental arithmetic things, so that way you can ballpark it on the fly super fast, and that way you can kind of help yourself out and not look, because some people, they don't like pulling out their phone and doing the calculations in the store because they think it makes them look silly. Well, here you can practice this and get better at it, because that's the way we get good at things. We practice it. So you can always, when you're at the store, practice doing it mentally and then pull out the phone and see how close you were. So with this example here, we the 15% off, or the 15% tip there, the estimation I did ended up with $7 versus $6.90. So it was super close, the estimation. But you can kind of see how far off you are and that type of stuff as you practice these. Anyhow, if you like this video, please do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button, give me a like. And if you disliked this video, make sure and hit that dislike button twice just to make sure.